With the exception of the MCU, every cinematic universe that's been tried in recent years has been an unmitigated disaster that has either died after a single film, think King Arthur Legend of the Board, kept on going through sheer force of executives wanting to get their bonuses, the DCEU, or the should be dead but keeps twitching variety, think the Dark Universe. Now, contrary to what you may believe, the MCU wasn't the first cinematic universe. In fact, the earliest universe in cinema history was the Universal Monsters series of Dracula, Frankenstein, Invisible Man and the Wolfman, which ran from 1931 to 1951 and featured a recurring cast and characters. Then, in the 50s and 60s, we got a Godzilla shared universe, which ran from 1955 until 2004, at which point the studio put its giant monster movies on hiatus. Oh, the Broderick version from 1998 is referred to as Zilla. It was so poorly received that Toho Studio bought the rights and had it fight proper Godzilla in a fight which lasted 10 seconds if I'm being generous. Why am I telling you all this when you know perfectly well that Godzilla is in the Monsterverse, which is co-produced and distributed by Warner Bros. And co-produced by Legendary Entertainment in partnership with Toho for the Godzilla films? Except Godzilla is only under contract to be there until 2021, at which point he's quitting the band and heading off to start his own universe. Again. Or, as Toho's Keiji Ota puts it, after 2021 we're thinking of a potential strategy that releases Godzilla movies uninterrupted at a rate of every 2 years, although there is a preference for a yearly pace as well. The future of the series and its forwarding developments are very conscious of the method of shared universe. Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, etc. could all share a single world view, much like a Marvel movie where Iron Man and Hulk can cross over with each other. It's unclear if Toho's upcoming Godzilla cinematic universe will draw on the original film or start from scratch. It won't, however, include a sequel to Shin Godzilla. Now, at time of recording, I have no idea how this will affect the Monsterverse, nor do I particularly care. Aside from producing one amazing poster in Kong Skull Island, I'd be perfectly happy to let this universe sleep with the fishes. Sticking with cinematic universes, remember when I said that the Dark Universe should be dead but keeps twitching? I wasn't joking. Despite 2 failed attempts to launch the damn thing, Dracula Untold in 2014 and The Mummy in 2017, and losing its chief architects followed by most of its screenwriters, directors, actors, last week LA artist Robert Vargas posted a photo on his Instagram account from his meeting with the amazing Dark Universe team, which included Universal Studio executive Holly Golightly, as well as teasing monster things in the works, whatever that means. Now, this implies that the Dark Universe is still twitching, and I would love to see it come back if they made smaller, more intimate films about the monsters as opposed to the big CGI blockbusters which just get lost in the shuffle. And of course, I'm pretty much contractually obligated to mention the MCU, and for months now a deal has been in the works for the Walt Disney Company to buy out 21st Century Fox's entertainment properties. If the deal goes through, it would include Fox's Marvel comic film rights, which would include the entire X-Men line. That would mean Marvel Studios would finally have the rights to add the X-Men to the cinematic universe, but it would also mean that Deadpool would be switching studios at a time when the character is at his most recognisable and profitable. And he would be moving to a studio that isn't exactly known for raunchy R-rated comedy. So what happens then? On a new episode of Cinema Blend's Real Blend podcast, Deadpool co-creator Rob Liefeld, who's been a major advocate for the character's life on film for years, was asked how he felt about the possibility of Disney-produced Deadpool movies. Liefeld seems optimistic, provided Disney keeps one key element from the Fox era. Only if Reynolds calls the shots. If Ryan is not the guy who's helming that ship, then who cares? If Ryan is given everything that he deserves and they say you can do your own thing over here at Disney, Liefeld said. Now for Disney's part, it's still not clear exactly how they treat Deadpool should the character land in the lap of Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige, but Liefeld had an idea about that too. In spite of Feige's reputation as the mastermind behind Marvel's movie success, Reynolds and company should be able to maintain some sense of autonomy. I really believe Ryan, who has invested so much of himself in both movies, and people don't understand. He is all but directing these movies. This sequel, he poured everything that he could into it, he said. And I think they just gotta... And the thing is, you look at Marvel and there's only really been one captain of that ship. So I would hope that they go, Ryan, you have your own fleet of ships. They're right over here. We have the Santa Maria and you have the SS Deadpool. It seems like we've been talking about this Fox deal forever at this point, and we're no close to understanding exactly what happens to the various Marvel Comics characters if it goes through. At least not immediately. Plus, the situation has now been complicated by Comcast's own bid to swoop in and get the drop on Disney with a better deal, which means the characters would still be moving, but they'd be moving to a different company and different future altogether if that happens. Again, watch this space. Now, in non-cinematic universe news, shockingly there is some, we start with the reaction to the release of the Freddie Mercury biopic Bohemian Rhapsody, which has seemingly ignored the fact that Freddie's habit of enjoying the company of a different gentleman between songs during gigs, as well as his habit of throwing parties where dwarves would wander around with silver trains of cocaine, seems to have been mysteriously omitted, and his terminal battle with AIDS has been reduced to a life-threatening illness in the YouTube description box, and you can see why people might be upset. As well as changing directors, stars and directions over the years, as well as rumours of interference from the surviving members of the band, you can see why the film is being called sanitised and het-washed. What else do we have? Solo, a Star Wars story, cost more than The Force Awakens as a result of its legendary production issues, which means it now has a budget of more than $250 million, not including marketing, which means it will need at least $500 million just to break even. And that's being conservative. Anything else? Well, the Dark Phoenix movie has dropped the X-Men from its title, gone through extensive third-act reshoots at a cost of at least $100 million, and maybe the idea is that this will be the last X-Men movie before the rights go to Marvel Studios via the impending Disney sale, which means that this continuity will be scrapped and a rebooted franchise will join the MCU. In other news, Liam Neeson has been cast in a Men in Black spin-off set in London, and with that it's back to the studio. Except between writing and recording, Morgan Freeman has apologised after being accused of sexual harassment by 8 women, including a young assistant whose skirt he tried to lift up repeatedly, and a CNN reporter who says he called her ripe as she interviewed him while pregnant. Now, as a result of the allegations, Freeman was dropped as the voice of Vancouver Public Transport. The Screen Actors Guild is also considering stripping him of the Lifetime Achievement Award he won in January. Other women said he behaved like a creepy uncle at Revelations Entertainment, his production company, and that his unwanted glances and treatment of them forced them to stop wearing skirts or dresses in the office. In a similar vein, Harvey Weinstein, the disgraced movie mogul, surrendered to the police in Manhattan on Friday on charges that he raped one woman and forced another to perform oral sex on him, law enforcement officials said. He will be charged with first-degree rape and third-degree rape in one case, and with first-degree criminal sex act in another, law enforcement official said, speaking on the condition of anonymity. Finishing with business news, for a while on Thursday, Netflix officially ruled the media world. Its market value soared above $153 billion, overtaking Disney as the most valuable media company. Netflix shares were up on Thursday even as Disney, Comcast and the broader market fell. But Disney regained the crown by the close after Netflix shares paired their gains, taking the streaming company's market cap below $152 billion. Netflix is still in second place ahead of Comcast, which it passed on Wednesday. The cable giant is now valued at $145.5 billion. Netflix even announced a price hike for subscribers last year, but that hasn't slowed its growth. Now, Disney does plan to launch its own streaming network, but that hasn't hurt Netflix yet, despite the fact that Netflix airs many shows based on Disney-owned Marvel comic book characters. Before this week, Netflix had already passed most traditional media companies, including Time Warner, Rupert Murdoch's 21st Century Fox, CBS, and Viacom. Netflix is now getting closer to telecom and media giants AT&T and Verizon, both companies worth about $200 billion, which is about $200 billion more than I've got. Now, if you'll excuse me, I really and truly am going back to the studio. Alright guys, so I'm Daniel, this is Movie Wrap News. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and do consider supporting us on Patreon. And I will see you next week.
Made possible by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.